Hello and welcome to the main auditorium of the ECOWAS Commission, Abuja, venue of Nigeria's 2007 presidential debate under the aegis of the Nigeria Elections Debates Group, NEDG. NEDG is a coalition of the Nigerian media, professional bodies, National Council of Women's Societies, and other civil society organizations. The 2007 presidential debate is supported by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, BON, Nigerian Press Organization, NPO, National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, National Orientation Agency, NOA, National Democratic Institute, NDI, and the Joint Donor Basket Fund. Let us quickly acquaint you with the details and rules of the debate. 23 political parties participated in this debate, and there were 12 sessions of presidential debate and only one session of vice presidential debate. The pairing of political parties for each session of the presidential debate is according to the party's visibility in the senatorial contest. Similarly, the only session available for the vice presidential debate was between the two parties with the highest number of candidates in the senatorial contest. We have relied strictly on the approved list of candidates issued by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The rules are the same for every day and every session. Each candidate is allowed 3 minutes for opening statement. The candidate who speaks first is determined by a toss of the coin off camera. Questions are limited to the broad areas already disclosed to the candidates. Each candidate has 3 minutes to answer a question. There shall be 2 minutes response by the other candidate. The moderator is allowed to do follow-up questions based on issues raised in the rebuttal. Profane language is strictly not allowed. Direct attacks on candidates' personality are prohibited. A higher sense of decency and decorum must be maintained in the course of the debate. Candidates are allowed 2 minutes each for their closing statements. The time period allowed for questions to be answered must be strictly adhered to. For timing, the green light will indicate start. Amber is a warning that only 30 seconds are left, while red indicates stop. When the candidates arrive the rostrum, as they have done now, they will have a handshake and embrace each other, and will do same at the end of the debate. We request the candidates to have a handshake and an embrace at this point in time. None of us on this panel is aware of the questions set for this debate. The questions were given to us just a while ago in the course of these proceedings, and there is in the auditorium a cross-section of the public which forms our audience. The audience is not allowed to interrupt, applaud, cheer, yell, or say anything while the debate is on. My name is Imuni Amarere, and I am the moderator for this session. And with me are and
Tamani Yusuf.
Thank you so much, and welcome. Now, the parties scheduled to take part in this session of the debate are the presidential candidates of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, All Nigeria People's Party flag bearer, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, the African Democratic Congress ADC flag bearer, Dr. Pat Utomi, Chief Orji Uzokalo of the Progressive People's Alliance, and the flag bearer of the Democratic People's Party, Atairu Dahatu Bafarawa. Where, as you can see, and it's obvious, we have only two of the candidates here, and they are Major General Muhammadu Buhari of the ANPP and Dr. Pat Utomi of the ADC. We do not have any information as to why the other three candidates are not here at this point in time. But the first speaker has 3 minutes for his opening statement. Remember, green light means start. Amber means 30 seconds to go. And red means stop. But we'll go now to the first speaker, and you have 3 minutes to make your opening statement. Dr. Pat Utomi.
Well, thank you very much indeed. I'd like to begin by thanking the organizers and saying to them that they've done a great job of making Nigerians have a real opportunity to choose. Now, if I just may, democracy is about accountability. Many times people scramble for what democracy really means. It's about accountability. Elections are the ultimate form of accountability. So the starting point is we account for what has happened during the time past and what we offer in the time coming. And I look at the time past, the last 8 years, and I say to myself, in these 8 years, God has been extremely generous to Nigeria. Highest revenue flows from crude oil in the history of this country, sustained over a long period of time. We're looking at a period during which through privatization and sale of oil blocks, great inflows came in. Through the so-called civil service reforms, a lot of inflows also came in. But we're looking at a period during which the incidence of poverty has been the highest in our country's history. 71%, according to the economists, of our people live below the poverty line. We're looking at a period during which we invested billions of dollars in trying to reform the power sector. And today, we generate less power than the city of Riyadh in Saudi Arabia does generate. And power is hardly ever available to any of us. We're looking at a period when the quality of life is so low, most Nigerian middle class are out of Nigeria because they can't live here. And the question that we ask, and this is really the kernel of this, somebody ought to account for these 8 years. I think that a party that has given us 8 years in which we have made no progress should account to the Nigerian people, stand before them and say, this is what we've done with these revenues. This is why the quality of your life is so bad that a minister from this government says that of the 130,000 graduates that will come out of our universities this year, less than 10% of them have the chance of getting a job. That in these times, that healthcare is so poor that literally anybody who can afford it flies out of the country for healthcare. That education is in such a desperate state that we have all these urgent measures being thrown at us. It is time to account. And I think Nigerians should stop being bamboozled. It is time to account.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pat Utomi. Major General Muhammadu Buhari, 3 minutes to make your opening statement.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, the organizers, for inviting me on this program. But the pity of it is that most Nigerians wouldn't be able to see us because Nigeria is almost in total darkness. Secondly, part of them may not afford it. All the same, I have agreed to participate on this debate. So the few, the elite, that can afford standby generator can speak the language of communication and can afford the TV sets will at least share with us and with you who are sitting here, the discussion. Well, the ANPP, as you know, has identified 3 fundamental objectives: security, stability, and prosperity. Nigeria has never realized as much revenue since its inception in 1914 than it has done in the last 8 years. But then the spread of poverty is so universal, from Badagry to Baga, from Uyo to Sokoto, from Katsina to Port Harcourt. Companies are folding, people are getting unemployed. And somebody has to come to break the vicious circle of insecurity and unemployment. For that reason, ANPP will offer Nigerians stability and prosperity for a change of being voted into power. The question of education will receive priority, because if you educate people, the question of giving them health facilities will be much less, because they will be able to look after themselves. They will earn a living. It is very important, Nigerians, I feel, to feel secure and prosperous. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your opening statements. Now you have an opportunity, another 3 minutes for the first speaker to tell us why you want to be the president of Nigeria, Major General Muhammadu Buhari.
Well, when I joined partisan politics on the 15th of April 2002, I did not join particularly to become a head of state or a president under this dispensation. I joined to contribute. I found out that the standard of living, in terms of what I've already said, physical and material security, was deteriorating. And the only contribution I was in a position to make is to go into partisan politics and allow my constituency, initially my immediate constituency, and my local government, my state, and as God would have it, the whole country, to have the opportunity to come out through my party, because the political parties are the only platform through which one can aspire to make substantial contribution in partisan politics under this system. I have been lucky for my party to give me the ticket in 2003, and what happened is now history. I have been lucky the second time. My party, again, has given me the ticket. But mercifully, Nigerians have been kept alert by the lack of performance of the government, that they can clearly see the difference between 2003 and today. And therefore, the prospect of the ANPP winning the election in the center and in the state are very, very bright. This is the system we are working. Through registration, congresses from ward to local government to states and convention. And this is a system that will guarantee Nigerians the ability to choose their leadership at various stages.
Thank you very much. Dr. Patutomi, why do you want to be president
Thank you.
Nigeria?
I was born in Kaduna, and I like to keep in touch with rumors from Kaduna. And 10 years ago, there was a madman in Kaduna. He used to repeat, just stand at the point and repeat, Bamai, ba ruwa, ba aiki, ba wuta. And I look to myself and think what that madman would be saying right now. Say, if I had to say it, say, har yanzu ba mai, ba ruwa, ba aiki, ba wuta. We have passed a stage where the misery index in Nigeria should be as it is, because this is one of the most blessed countries in the world. And I have to ask myself how my children will think of me 30 years from now, when I'm gone, if they know that I stood by and I watched their country deteriorate to the state that Nigeria has degenerated. I am conscious of the fact that having done a lot of research as an academic in Southeast Asia, having done business around the world, the Nigerian condition is unexplainable, except perhaps for the quality of leadership that Nigeria has had. And I decided that I was bound, as citizens' duty, to get involved in public life to make a difference. I live in a country where power generation per capita is one of the worst in Africa. Infrastructure is one of the worst in Africa. If you go to the IMF website, you will see their latest posting in December. Nigeria is one of the worst cases in Africa. TB, we just went through the TB day. Nigeria has the worst TB record in Africa. Not in the world, I mean Africa. That disgrace was getting too much for me. If I didn't do something, history would hold me in contempt. And I step forward to say, we can make a difference. We have had enough of these triumph of politics. We want to move from politics to nation building. You need nation builders now. You don't need politicians squabbling every day about little things when people's lives are wasting out there. This is a country that must produce. This is a country that has the capacity to produce, and it needs people who know about producing. South Africa, its per capita consumption of electricity is such that for us to rival them, have the same per capita consumption, we need to have 80,000 megawatts. But today, we are promising 10,000. That must stop. This is why I'm running.
Thank you very much, Dr. Patutomi. I now turn to my panelists to pose the questions, and I turn first to Mohammed Gaba.
General, experts in development studies have always submitted that Nigerians has both the capacity and capability to provide within 10 years the basic expectation of Nigerians, that is food, shelter, healthcare, education, and security. But bad leadership, lack of strategic planning, and lack of political will have always been our problem. If elected president, what leadership qualities, experience, and vision are you bringing to bear on the national governance?
Well, firstly, we shall start with power. When this government came in, its first Minister of Power and Steel, if I could recall, late Bola Ige, said within 6 months they will fix NEPA then. Now, it's now 8 years. Power Holding Company of Nigeria has sentenced the nation into darkness. This government inherited 4 refineries, 2 in Port Harcourt, 1 in Warri, 1 in Kaduna, over 3,500 line pipes across the country, about 25 depots. But for the 8 years this government has been on, it has been importing petroleum products. When this government came in, the textile industry was employing about 265,000 Nigerians. Today, the textile industry is employing about 37,000. We used to have Nigerian Airways. We used to have Nigerian Shipping Line. We used to have Nigerian Railways. Where are they? In spite of all that we have been getting, the economy has been going down, unemployment is soaring. So the incompetence of the Nigerian elite generally is unprecedented. And having earned the infamous position in being the second world corrupt country, and then gradually improved to about number 6 now, it is incumbent on whoever aspires to leadership in this country to have the capacity to immediately check corruption. Unless corruption is checked, then the Nigerian elite, in spite of training, retraining, and all innovations, will not be able to maintain sustainable development for the nation. Nobody is in doubt about our human and material resources, but lack of leadership at all levels has denied Nigerians and Africans to develop a nation equal to developed countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General. Dr. Pat Utomi, you have 2 minutes to tell us what leadership qualities, experience, and vision you will bring to bear on national governance if elected President of Nigeria.
Thank you very much. First of all, experts in leadership will tell you that there are 2 critical dimensions to leadership. One is knowledge. You must have knowledge. The other is you must have a sense of service, a sense of compassion towards other people so that you can inspire them to follow you. Now, it's interesting that while I was traveling around the country, I visited the Emir of Gombe, who used to be permanent secretary, and he made the point pointedly in welcoming me that the biggest problem of leadership in this country is that we have not had knowledgeable people leading Nigeria. And that is why he said that my entrance was such a welcome thing. Having been a permanent secretary, he even gave the example of how you prepare reports sent to our leaders because they don't know what to do, they just write noted on the paper. We need people who have knowledge. And I think that I don't need to explain how much. I come with experience in more than 5 different academic disciplines. I come with experience working in industry and leading a multinational corporation. I come with experience having served in government in this country in a presidential advisory position at the age of 27. I come with experience of leading so many civil society organizations. And I come with compassion that I have shown in most of the things that I have been involved in. So I think that if anybody is prepared to lead this country, it is somebody who has had my kind of exposure to leadership in industry, in academia, in government, and who, in addition to that, has displayed compassion in the work that he has done in civil society, working with poor widows, working with the unemployed and the young people. I think that will serve for now.
All right, thank you very much. Tamani, you have the next question for Dr. Pat Utomi.
Dr. Pat Utomi, the presidential system of government has been criticized as being very expensive to run in a developing country like Nigeria. What modifications would you advocate if elected president?
Well, thank you. If we have to have the kind of modifications that will be suitable, we will need to have a conference to have a constitutional amendment. If I had my way, we will return to a modified parliamentary system. It is definitely much cheaper to run. If you look at the budget of Nigeria, you find today that most of the resources are not going to taking care of the Nigerian people. They are going into running a bloated bureaucracy. About 3 years ago, the finance minister, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, in her budget presentation, noted that 82% of revenues were going to go into recurrent expenditure, just running bureaucracy. In the end, our calculations were that it turned out to be 96% at the end of the year because most capital expenditure was borrowed. Now that situation is unsustainable. We must do something to stop that hemorrhaging now. So we need to have a system where you don't have every friend of your uncle's wife's brother's daughter as a special assistant. We need to get competent civil servants, well-trained, responding to whoever comes into office, whether he's from this party or that party, because the civil servants trained to give the best to their country, no matter who is the leader in office. I think that if we did those things, we'll get our resources serving the Nigerian people rather than serving a bloated bureaucracy. Because those institutions that make for progress are not necessarily the once run in Abuja. They are business people creating wealth. There are people who, because the environment is right, have chosen to do things that provide employment to other people. Our concentration will be on making the people who are the interface people, the people at the airport, welcoming of foreign investors and all that, work truly for the Nigerian people, rather than trying to give a job to everybody that we run into because we call it a presidential system. It does not have to be that way. And I tell you, American government officials, when they travel, a minister in America will travel economy. In Nigeria, all of them are flying first class, they fly in chartered jets. We must stop that. This country is hemorrhaging from the misbehavior of public officials in thinking that public resources exist for their pleasure. It's for the service of the Nigerian people. We are consuming too much for people in power.
Thank you very much. General, I want to respond to that question. Is a presidential system of government an expensive system to run? If it is, what modifications would you advocate if elected president?
Well, I have already, when I made declaration, that I will take a bill to the National Assembly for serious restructuring of this country. It is true that I was involved in the administration that approved the presidential system under the president present when he was a military head of state. We observed then that certainly the multi-party presidential system was and still is an expensive system. But we saw the checks and balances in the system in terms of the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary will make sure that judicial use of resources was possible. It is disappointing, really, government has become top-heavy. What we will do, if chosen, if elected, is to make a sort of political and economic war game. If Nigeria could not export crude oil for 2 years, what will happen? How many states will survive? Through that, we will find out how viable federation units can be developed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General. The next question is also for you. In most African countries, Nigeria inclusive, outgoing governments always rush policy initiatives in the twilight of their tenure. If elected president, how would you handle such a situation where development programs with far-reaching budgetary implications are rushed within 90 days before you assume office?
I think that is the incompetence of the sitting governments. I believe government must have within its initial or even second term, if it is a presidential system. Whichever system it is, I believe a thorough development plan is necessary.